It's Lucy and Jeff going for walks and talk about banksters and Bitcoin and globalists and stuff. It's Lucy and Jeff and tacos and kisses.
Well, looks like we're gonna have to fight the government soon, Lucy. That's okay. You know what I do. I go wherever you go. You go for tacos, I go for tacos. You're gonna fight cops, we go fight cops. At the end of the day, I'll give you some kisses. Yeah, like I said before, go back and watch V for Vendetta. I watched it actually about 6 months ago again. I usually watch it about once a year. I have just a couple of movies that I think are worthwhile watching. Lord of the Rings, so well done. I actually read the books. It was one of the first books I ever read when I was a kid. Huge book, Lord of the Rings. But when they said they're going to make it in a movie, I was like, it's going to be garbage. But they did an awesome job. And the whole book's about anarchy. The whole point is the Ring of Power. I like The Matrix, which basically is where we live. Totally explains. Apparently they're doing a Matrix 4, but something weird's happened to the brothers who wrote the movie now. Now they're sisters, and I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. And maybe a few more. But V for Vendetta is definitely on my list of things I watch every year. And like I said, it was about 6 months ago I watched it. And I was like, whoa, this is a lot like today. And then Truth Theory 3 put a little bit of a trailer together about it, which reminded me more of the movie. And even now, especially, as you have places like London going into tier 4 lockdown with like zero notice, where you have people literally running and going as fast as they can to flee the city. So to see all that happening along with what V for Vendetta, the movie is, it's just like, wow, was I ever predictive programming? I don't know what's going on, what kind of weird matrix we live in, but that movie basically predicts everything going on today.
The new ability to wage war is born from the blood of one of the victims. Imagine a virus, the most terrifying virus you can, and then imagine that you and you alone have the cure. But if your ultimate goal is power, how best to use such a weapon? It's at this point in our story that along comes a spider. He is a man seemingly without a conscience, for whom the ends always justify the means, and it is he who suggests that their target should not be an enemy of the country, but rather the country itself. 3 targets are chosen to maximize the effect of the attack: a school, a tube station, and a water treatment plant. Several hundred die within the first few weeks.
That Three Waters has, in fact, been contaminated.
Authorities are attempting to control its deadly spread.
Sent a wave of destruction throughout the underground.
Fueled by the media, fear and panic spread quickly, fracturing and dividing the country until at last the true goal comes into view. Before the St. Mary's crisis, no one would have predicted the results of the election that year, no one. And then not long after the election, lo and behold, a miracle. Some believed it was the work of God himself, but it was a pharmaceutical company controlled by certain party members that made them all obscenely rich.
Oh, it's like a raccoon. Don't fight him, Lucy, hang on. Lucy, sits! Lucy, don't! Lucy! No, it's a sloth. Lucy, man! Lucy! It's like a sloth. Lucy! Ben! What, are you going to fight a sloth, Lucy? Oh, you know me. I'll fight anything. And then I'll give him kisses. And talking about what's actually going on in this world, like, it is pretty bizarre. And actually I saw an excellent video. It's on YouTube. I doubt it's there for long, but we'll try to get a link to it wherever we can. It's called The Truth Unmasked in This World by Shaking My Head Productions. And it basically talks about, it basically just shows, it doesn't even say anything. There's like no lyrics to it. There's no script. It just shows different video footage of how essentially everything in the world today that's going on with all these masks is a massive satanic ritual. And the video is about an hour long, but, well, it's bright. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, obviously, but I'll play like a couple minutes of it, maybe a couple really good parts, but if you want to watch the whole thing, it's pretty mind-blowing.
A number of years ago, I was in a little town, Darjeeling, on the northern boundary of India, where it met Tibet. And there were several visitors from various countries, and the hotel management decided it would be appropriate to give a little entertainment in the Tibetan spirit. So they brought in about a half a dozen Tibetan dancers with their masks and regalia to entertain. And among them was a little boy about 8 years old, a very cute, chubby little rascal, and everyone liked immediately. But when the time for the dance came, he put on one of the most grotesque masks you'd ever want to see. He really was, it looked like a nightmare. And of course everyone knew it was the little boy. But during the dance, he started and moved over very rapidly towards the audiences, always getting ready to attack them. And you should have seen the audience scatter. They all knew it was a little boy, but with the mask, something happened. And a real spirit of ancient and primary fear moved in on those people. They actually, subconsciously, were terrified. In the southwest of the United States, we have a series of ritualistic dances by the various Indian tribes, the Zunis, Hopis, Navajo. These dances often include masked figures, and everyone knows that these masked figures are members of the local community. One of the men with a mask, very carefully developed, rather crude mask concealment, actually has two children in the audience. They all know that it's father, but when he dances toward them with a sacred pollen, they kneel instinctively as though he was a god. Something happens when the masks begin to take a part in religious ritual. Masks were used in Egypt, we know, in the temple mysteries. And even today, the various carvings and manuscripts of Egyptian origin show human beings with the masks of birds and animals. The Greeks used masks in their theater also. Nearly always a mask becomes a complete change of personality. If accompanied by adequate religious ritual, the mask becomes a secret of the development of a peculiar theological belief that there was a divine power in the mask. And when it was worn correctly and under ritual supervision, it brought a deity into contact with humanity.
It's pretty amazing how they've done all this. It's truly amazing, actually. And like I said, watch that entire video if you want your mind to be blown. And even like my mind was blown, and you might say, oh, I thought you knew all this stuff, and pay attention. There's always so much more. And in that, they really showed just how this is like a bizarre worldwide satanic ritual that they've somehow managed to get everyone to do basically for nothing. Like there's no virus. It's pretty unbelievable. I wouldn't believe if I didn't see it, that's for sure. And